I am a traveler of both time and space. Sounds caress my ears.
Maybe in the last minute of your life you want to be something more than a goddamn savage! We're not as hollow and dumb as Annunziare mendatio. Ego sum homo indomitus.
Fearless rats, insanity. He wanted the game fantasy. Radio one, forbidden sight. He searches under of the shadows and light.
You like this? Oh. You like being food for the immortal?
What is happening, my savage friends? You are listening to the gullet of Immortal COIL. Welcome in, welcome in. What is happening? One and all. It is Saturday, August the 24th, 2024, 11:07 p.m. West Coast, Seattle. And it is time, my friends, to get savage. I'd like to remind you that the Savage Show is not for children. This channel contains strong language, sensitive subject matter, images, and content intended for a mature 18 years or older audience. Viewer discretion is advised. This video contains copywritten content, however, under the Fair Use Act, Section 504(c)(2), Title 17 of the United States Code. This content is presented for the purposes of education and entertainment through the use of parody, satire, critique, analysis, and/or social commentary by means of subjective opinion. So, grab hold of the seat by the ass handle because we're about to fly off the face of the earth. I'd like to invite you to lift high whatever it is you are imbibing and join me in the savage salute. Here is to us. What is like us? Not a goddamn thing. Tastes rather like unmitigated gall. I'd like to start off the show by saying hail to the chat. As always, we have our lawyer. He should be a lawyer. Go ahead and take a fucking law class. No, we have our loyal, our most celebrated Mr. Dr. RR. How you doing, sir? Good to see you there. And then looking through the chat here, we did have Deborah Cohen popping in a little bit early, and that was my fault. It's been a weird week, and I actually got my days mixed up and thought yesterday was today and today was tomorrow kind of thing. That's what happens when you understand that time is relative, and you also have too many things on your plate at the same time. But either way, whether you're joining us live or in the repeat, we appreciate your presence here. got a good show for you tonight. I wasn't able to make it out last week because pressing matters in the human realm and things that were involving local authorities and unpleasantness. I managed to escape by that kind of thing, and that wasn't necessarily directed at me. However, I want you guys to notice that whenever you involve yourself with tangents, things will tangentially attach themselves to you, or they have the tendency to, or the potential to. Either way, you're still at choice whenever anything that you choose to participate in, how much sway that has over you. And it's also one of those things, too. When life gets lifey and you are reminded that you are a human on the face of planet Earth, that you are subject to its whims and fancy, you still have that opportunity to remind yourself that, listen, I'm a boot on the ground. I'm spirit and flesh. I'm playing here, but this is not where my ultimate fate will be. It's just something that I'm doing for the moment. Yeah. I have a couple of interesting topics for you guys today. These are actually things that I've been kind of stewing on the past 3 weeks that I haven't really had an opportunity to exercise, at least through my own consciousness, before you find people, as it were, uh, to my own satisfaction. You know, um, I have various guests on my panel from time to time, but not always do I get to thoroughly explore topics from alpha to omega. So hopefully tonight we'll be able to get to do a little bit of that kind of stuff. So without further ado, definitely want to say, hey, what's up? How's it going tonight? It's a fine evening out here in Seattle. It's not quite overcast, but not quite clear. There's supposed to be some sort of like super moon in conjunction with Saturn, all this kind of shit. I've had a lot of people bring that to my awareness these past couple days. And it sucks because when you live in the Pacific Northwest, you don't always get a clear view of the night sky. Which sucks for other reasons too. Very recently, I've sort of started researching again, and I'll tell you what. Now that I'm in my 40s, there are areas of research where I feel a little bit cynical, where I feel like, I've been doing this since the 1990s, and I've read or touched or been in front of or considered or discussed pretty much everything that was of interest to me within the milieu of things that I find interesting. But every now and then, every now and then, something will pop up that kind of takes everything that I know and breathes a breath of fresh air into it. Usually, it's a persona. It's somebody who has probably been around as long, and then sort of presents things in a different realm. So yeah, I've found a couple of interesting new books, and well, yeah, I suppose they're still new. They're like 1 or 2 years old. Good art, very good information. Slightly hoity-toity at times, but nothing that is unexpected in this realm. And it's like in the realm of contactee kind of shit. So you guys know, if you're listening to this channel, I'm in touch with extraterrestrial intelligence. I'm in touch with non-human intelligence. spiritual and otherwise, non-physical. And it's not out of the sense of oh yeah, you know, I'm this and that and the other thing. No, it's as I said, when you are the boot on the ground, when you're realizing that you're just occupying a flesh suit, and you entertain higher concepts, different sorts of ways of living, different ways of perceiving energy, when you're into dreams, when you're into intuition, when you're into things not being so literal, when you allow source to come through and be a random toss of dice and reconfigure itself in your awareness. Sometimes, my savage friends, you might perchance perceive intelligence and messages. And not only that, when you're of that mindset, other parts of the universe begin to find you interesting. And who knows, maybe they'll come down and play with you from time to time. I've been reading this book called The Cedars, and it's by not cedars like the tree, but like cedars like plant them in the ground kind of thing. Seeders. And this is by a young woman named Elena Dannon. And well, technically she's older than me, but she seems young to me, you know, at the same time. It's good shit. I've actually as I've been reading this, I downloaded it as a PDF, but you guys should go and purchase it if you can, like physical hard copy, keep it on a bookshelf near you. I find like different pages and different like especially because she's an artist, I'll find visual things that I'm just like, holy shit, and I'll take a screen cap and fire it off to people in my vicinity. You know, I sent a couple to Steven, I sent a couple to members of the chat who, you know, frequent here. And it's good stuff, and it's just kind of like, I don't want to say I get cynical. I don't want to say I get like burned out or used to it or any of those sort of things. But it's, again, it's nice to kind of get inspired and get lifted out of the mundanity of the sphere, which is Terra in 2024. You know. So what that all goes to say is that it gives me new lease to yak on about things to you guys, especially since as I said, circumstances have prohibited me from being here for the past few weeks. So we're going to get into some of the stuff. Again, I'd like to request that you hit like, hit subscribe, ding the bell, share this out, tell a friend or two about the Savage stream. And since I'm outside, if you can ignore the motor traffic here, you know, let everybody know where they can find me and what I'm up to. I promise you guys I'm working on some new videos. I have some ideas about extraterrestrial contact, to tell you the truth, and I'm just trying to find a proper way to present it, because the last thing I need for you guys to do is worship them or worship me. There's no fucking difference between this sort of biological life and that sort of biological life, except for what they happen to be flying around and the culture from which they originate. You know, we're all the same. We're all imbued by source. And what do I mean by source? Well, I'm glad you asked. One of the topics that I wanted to raise tonight is the difference between source and soul. Source and soul. What does that mean? Okay. in some ways, those are euphemisms. Okay. People like to say spirit, people like to say God, but invariably, when you're outside, now, invariably, when people mention things such as source or spirit or soul or God, we run into our previous encounters with religion, with holy books, with things of that ilk. And it's not necessarily conducive to free research. You know, you have to wade through a bunch of different ideas which long preceded your current life form. You know, 1,000-year-old ideas that weren't even necessarily originating from humanity itself, Terran humanity, I should say, because there is a distinguishment there. The human race is not simply bound to Terra. Matter of fact, the human race was installed on Terra. Ask me how I know. ... Maybe we'll say that for the audience chat. Source and soul. What do I mean by that? Okay. Now, I was talking with Walton about this, of all people. Love the man to death. He gets excited, he gets exuberant, his tail starts wagging, and then he just fires off on all cylinders. And sometimes you can get him to concentrate. Other times, he's going to make you concentrate on what he wants. I was talking to him about this because source. People have a desire to present it in terms of a hierarchy because that's how it's been taught to us. The idea of a hierarchy, the idea of rank, that comes from off-world. Those are the models that were implemented by the Orion, by the Seeker, the Alpha Draconis. The whole like lords and ladies things, the kings and queens, the divine throne from heaven, lowered to earth kind of shit. And when you're interfacing with a philosophy of that sort, it's easy to universalize that and turn it into something that's applies to God, right? And especially when you have beings who are running around pretending to be God or present themselves before you as God, well, you know, there's a tendency for the mind to become confused. Source is no more primeval or authoritative than 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, whenever the fuck you wake up. Source simply is where all is emanates from. Okay. The subtle thing here is that source is imbued with consciousness. It's imbued with primal creative forces. It has infinite potential. You can shape it into anything that you can conceive of or dream of, anything you can give a name to, anything you can dream about, anything you can fashion with your hands, anything you can give a shape with your teeth and your tongue. Okay. Source is the beginning of isness. And let's also say that those twists of verbiage is deceitful because the English language, when I was in school and I did all my fucking placement tests, I was judged to be a superior communicator. I've had people even just recently say that, hey, you're a smart fellow and you have a way with words. Cool. I appreciate that. That doesn't mean that I fail to run into inadequate speech when it comes to communicating the eternal, and when it comes to something like source. Now, it's also one of those things where you have to kind of set aside ego when you own the fact that you understand source, that you've been there, that you've been a part of it, that you remember the feeling and the experience when you're, as it were, coming down here and talking to people about it. You have to make it into something relatable. And the idiom of language is the way that you do that. Now, again, you guys, I'm outside, I'm outdoors. If you're following my TikTok, you see that I use the hashtag homeless because I have nowhere to be except for the planet Earth herself. I spend different times sleeping outdoors, crashing on couches, sleeping on floors, sleeping in garages, sleeping in cars. You know, I have no tethered ground of my own. And to tell you the truth, savages, yeah, there's a train. Can you hear it? I'm not so sure at this day and age that I want to be tethered like that, because I see a lot of suffering. Okay, a lot of people are suffering with mortgages or rents or leases, bills that they find no joy in paying, and they do it just for the privilege of being able to wake up and go to work and, you know, be an asshole for pay for 8 hours in between moments of perhaps being themselves, you know. And that's only when they're not like trying to eat dinner or go on a date or fix their hair or be sexy or whatever. All these things that society and life, the program, try to tell you that this is what it's about. That's not what it's about. Life isn't about that. Life is about those fleeting moments when you have a larger sense of self and a larger sense of purpose. And you are inspired to be bigger and better than you ever have been, because it not only reflects you, it reflects a primal principle of the universe. And that, my friends, is a piece of source. We all go to source in between lives. What do you mean in between lives, COIL? That means when your physical body dies and wears out, whether it's robbed of you or you drop it out of exhaustion or tiredness or disease. You drop your body, you drop your current physical experience, and you return once again to source. And what's that like? That's like the raindrop rejoining the ocean. It's all the same water, but for an instant you were evaporated and tossed to the winds, and you went hither and you went thither and yon, and your essence could have been crystallized into ice. It could have been evaporated into steam. It could have been, I don't know, turned into pee that came out of a T-Rex. Who knows? The journey was unique, but the destination is the same. Source. Listen to that. They're sending the sirens after me. Source is sort of like home, and it's sort of like love, and it's sort of like purpose and meaning, all rolled up into the same experience. And I have to emphasize that word, experience. It's not a place. And this is actually one of the things that pisses me off about religious imagery because so much emphasis is placed upon what happens to you when you die. And it makes it seem like anything worth having in this life you have to wait for until after your husk has died. And like all the rewards and all the benefits are in the next world. Nah, that's a cop out. I'll tell you what, the thing that you're waiting for, stop. Just allow it to happen. The true power is in manifesting and creating the moment. Manifesting and creating the moment. I had a conversation about this with my good friend. The true secret to life is in clearly visualizing exactly what type of experience you would care to have and allowing yourself to step into it. The more clearly you can picture that, the more tangible the design, the easier it is to use universal architecture to bring it about as a reality. Okay. This is a gift of source. Something I could tell you about God, as it were. And again, I'm using that word loosely. I think that there's a lot of charge around that concept because of various religious ideas that have been floating around the past couple thousand years. What's a better word? Maybe the isness, that which is, all that is, the thing that we are all a part of that cannot be denied. You know, the isness had a unique problem once, and it's absent all else. How can self be? That was a huge problem. So how do you solve that problem? Well, you employ a little bit of smoke and mirrors, a little bit of spiritual chicanery, as a nothing malicious, nothing nefarious, but it's just that idea that, okay, if I can give a portion of myself to the experience of not actually realizing that it is the self, maybe it can go out and play. And I give it all the same abilities that I have. You can create whatever the fuck you want, but you just forgot for a second that you and I are the same. Oh, well, suddenly all kinds of things are possible. And this is what I would call the origin of the soul, that idea. These concepts are not altogether foreign to the human race on Terra Sol 3. Despite attempts to make us into some sort of plaything. Terran human genome has been through a lot, you guys. We've been, made into playthings. We've been made into fun toys. We've been made into slave labor. We've been made into clay soldiers. But occasionally, when we're left alone and allowed to contemplate things, we do things like come up with Buddhism, or we come up with the Constitution of the United States of America, you know, or the Magna Carta, or individual rights, or the Renaissance, or, you know, different things. I mean, if you leave us alone and let us be unfucked with, there's no reason why we couldn't do such as the Genesis books describe, create a tower whose head can reach heaven. You know, I think that might be a euphemism for Kundalini energy, but, you know, that's just me being wistful. I think it's more accurate to say that that particular story refers to a factual event that was interrupted by forces beyond our sphere, you know, and that's a little bit past their purview of what I'm trying to talk about. But to bring it back home, the beginning of the experience of soul. Okay, so when Source figures out that the way to explore itself best is to create individuated experiences from a seeming perspective outside of Source. And it's not that it's necessarily outside, you know, it is individuated. It does have all the same abilities. It's a fractal. You take a shaving of the grand hologram and you let it go and play, and it can do whatever it wants. You set up things like polarity, this and that, high and low, hot and cold, good and evil. And every individuated piece of Source who commits to that design casts lots and chooses sides and agrees to do for the glory of the whole. The glory of the whole. Where's Stephen when you need him? I just said glory hole and Stephen's not here. All right. For the glory of the whole. Somebody make a meme out of that for me, please. Right. Now, this is all the beginning of the universe, let's say. Like, not even like let there be light, but maybe like the day or two later. And it's like, okay, let's let these primal forces go out and play. Let's let it fashion out a design. Let's let it hammer it out a stage of existence for spirit to dance upon. Okay. This is something else I was saying to Walton over the course of the week. It was how deep do you want to get into this? You know, there is the truth of the history of the self, which I've sort of basically covered with this whole story of Source and Soul. There's the truth of the local history of your immediate surroundings, meaning your local star, your local galaxy, your local universe, all that kind of stuff. The players and the pieces that occur therein, you know, and that's to encompass human and exopolitics. And here's what's funny, and especially when I read books by people like Miss Elena Dana. In my own walk, I've been cautioned by spirit, by Source, to limit how much I choose to engage in exopolitics, because it's very interesting, and it's like, oh, what are the fucking space bros up to? How does that impact your walk on Earth? In some ways, in some large ways, quite intimately. You know, anything that can break us out of those sort of 9 to 5, paying to live on a planet kind of bullshit, and get us closer to this Star Trek reality where we're, you know, matter replicators, and everybody's merit is their energy and what they can bring to life. That would be a great thing to wake up to. But like the ins and outs and the particulars of that, like this race is doing that and the other race is doing this. You know, it's very fascinating. But how does that change your walk? So the emphasis that I've been given, that I'd like to share with you guys, is like, listen, all that shit is intellectually fascinating. How does that alter your walk, if it does at all? And the caution that I receive here is not to rely on things outside of the self to set terms or determine your reality. You have to be in charge of your own reality. You have to have in your mind's eye a goal, a sphere that you're stepping into that is being fashioned of your own design. And if you want to say like you're doing it in partnership with source or God or spirit or whatever, cool. I get that. But you have to have your own program. One of the things, and the Space Brothers, the ETs, they'll tell you the same shit too. We don't want your worship. We want you to stand the fuck up and be equal people with us. You know, we want you to be free of the programming and the bullshit that we have had to endure for the past 8,000 years. We want you to turn off the internet, to stop jerking off, to stop eating poison and drinking poison. Just look up in the sky with awe and amazement, wonder, and realize that all those stars that you're looking at, all those things that took millions of light years to reach your eyeballs, you're observing yourself. Those are pieces of you that are hitting your retina that happened millions of years ago. But more than that, things that happened that you were a part of. And you've only forgotten because you've become this cute little monkey weasel thing. Right? Going to go ahead and check in with the chat here. We went over with RR. What's up, man? We got Shellback, TJC. I do want to say hello, Shellback. This mountain of a man brought me out of the cold, gave me a place to sleep and some food to eat. Told me that I was a nice coil to have around. We got the rookie critic. He says, "Oh, hey, hail trans fat, hail my fluffy friend kind." Rookie critic and Shellback being the two people who I've met outside of the realms of YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Good gentlemen both. Give them a follow, give them a like, give them a subscribe. Make sure their channel grows. Share them out. If you guys are mods or wrenches, go ahead and throw that in the chat. Very superior gentlemen. Let's see here. We got Jillian, Miss Jills, the representing the international audience. And I don't mean for that to sound like Maxwell House Coffee, but she says, is there something happening on the planet that's bringing in souls to specifically raise a vibration? Yes. Yes. Maybe that's a good way to introduce the next leg of the show, is that idea that there is a history of the self and there's a history of local phenomenon. Okay. Earth, Terra, Sol 3. Happens to be one of the more beautiful planets. I know it's hard to understand that given what we've done to it in the past couple hundred years. However, it is a jewel in the sky, and it is far enough away from the central hub of galactic civilization, as it were, that it was sort of like a vacation destination. You know, the same idea, like we fantasize about this desert island kind of thing. Oh, you know, if we had a place that we could just go and like kick back and be naked and have coconuts and, you know, drink mahis and fuck off for a little bit and then go back home, you know, kind of stretch and rest the soul for 2 weeks. Except in the case of ETs, that might be 200 years. You know, that might be 2,000 years. Think about those things. And what do you do when you're on vacation and you're bored? You kind of kick around. You like look at like little ant piles. You see how the crabs crawl. You know, put on bug spray. You create like a pseudo environment. And the ancient, I fucking hate this word, gods, right? The ancient deities. And when we ask ourselves, what do those words actually mean? Usually people ascribe those terms to heavenly beings. And what is a heavenly being except for a being who originates outside of the atmosphere of Earth? Somebody whose existence began outside of the machinations of Saul and Terra, right? That idea of Eden, Eden, E period D-E-N. And in the original tongue, that meant a home in the faraway, an engineered environment, something that could be installed and maintained and operated, something that could be a portable, replicable environment that perfectly mimics the conditions, the flora, the fauna, the environment, the temperature, the gas of your respiration. Portably installed on a different habitat. This Garden of Eden, there's a kernel of truth there, but it's more like the dome of Eden, right? Am I getting away from the meat of the question? Possibly. Which is to say, like the beings who came to Earth found very unique circumstances, and they were able to tweak and play with the DNA there because intergalactic society doesn't deal with cash money. They don't care about that. Perhaps gold was overvalued in the eyes of our ancestors and the people who taught them what was important. But no, when you have no use for money and your resources are vast and abundant, you tend to value things like genetics. Genetics are the universal gold standard, as it were. Not that gold is not valuable, but any race who sort of came by and did the Tahiti mahi mahi fucking vacation experience on Solterra 3 would fuck around with the local flora and fauna. Sometimes they brought things, sometimes they tweaked things, sometimes they were so fascinated by what they found that they were compelled to place their mark upon it, as it were. The being that we desire exists on it. By the time the Sea Car and the Lyrans and all those motherfuckers came to Earth, the most intelligent humanoid-ish thing had already been fucked with by intergalactic members of society, like people and races and beings that weren't even native to our Milky Way galaxy, which is also a funny thing that I find. Talk about Galacta, that means milk spilled across the sky from the fucking breast of the goddess, right? Language has a lot of hidden wisdoms folded into it. But slowly over time, the dominant race on this planet, which we came to typify, and I mean Terran humanity, was shaped into something very unique and very uncommon. And the fact that something to do with the primate portion of ourselves gave us an increased range in emotional awareness, but it also granted us, I don't know if that's a way to say it, it carried with it the capability to host spirit, and something that was designed to be a workforce being suddenly was able to host spiritual identities that had mastered the entire fucking jigsaw and could come back and kind of peek in and be like, hey, how you doing? And it's that ultimate thing of the teacher surpassing the student, the creation surpassing its creator. You'd think that would be a cause for excitement, but no, it was a threat. But then there was also this like kind of like evil excitement and opportunity, like, ooh, oh, if this kind of energy is coming through, then imagine if we could put a stovepipe on top of it and siphon it off and turn it into something digestible. Well, how do we do that? Oh, you just make it afraid. You convince it that it's separate from consciousness, and you take off the excess and then feed it back to the hive, right? Sort of like that. I don't know if that makes sense, Jillian. I do appreciate the question, though. You guys, and I kind of complain about this from time to time, is that pretend that you are seated with an audience that consists of the sum total of the knowledge of the universe, and all you had to do was ask the question. I don't get asked nearly enough good questions, and it bothers me from time to time. I do enjoy like fishing around and finding topics to talk about on the show, but rarely do I get specific enough questions that I'm able to lay it out in a fucking line item like I just did. So appreciate that. Appreciate you guys out of the chat. Let's see here. Just shell back the glory of the whole. Yes, sir. The glory of the whole. Yes, we're saving souls and filling holes. And the only difference between a hope and a hole is one letter. All right. Let's see here. Rook stepping up. He goes, hey, if you need a partner next weekend, I'll be open the next 2 Saturday nights. Right on, dude. If you're trying to step in a role like that, man, we're going to be philosophical, and we're going to be Art Bell, and we're going to be talking about aliens and shit. So put on your fucking big girl panties, man, if that's what you're trying to do. Yeah. Hit me up. We dig that. We're getting. Rookie also says, hey, you're getting close to 666 subs. Oh shit. You know, and I don't want to give too much of this away, but like a close friend of mine, he actually got into a situation where he had to go and hire a lawyer, and he was shopping around because the sort of legalities that he's being forced to mitigate are treacherous waters. Let's say that there's a lot of hidden rocks beneath the water surface that, if you're not careful, can damage the hull of your fine wooden Viking ship. And he was looking around at attorneys, and he finally goes, COIL, I found the perfect attorney. And I said, well, what's he like? And I shit you not, he he almost exactly said this. He goes, he rode a pale horse. The name that sat upon him was death, and hell followed through with him. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I start laughing. Those are the kind of people I hang out with, people. You know, we make light of apocalyptic happenings. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Brooks says he loves the alien shit. Good, because that's you know, the long and the short of it. Okay, so moving around midnight here in the Seattle sphere. Just referring back to my schedule as it were. And when my schedule is loading, I have to use silly voices. Silly voices. Okay. We're talking about the engineered race of Earth, commonly known as Terran humanity, right? At some point, it was discovered that this life form could host spirit, and that the spirit that it could host was not only just like any old spirit, but that it was capable of being driven by the architects of the universe themselves. And I don't know if you guys pay attention, but when you go to like my Twitter feed, my X, I fucking hate that word, but Elon Musk, as it were, and my Instagram and wherever the fuck I have social media presence, I always use this word patal, and that's a reference to that energy signature, the designers, the fashioners of the universe. It's the moment where creation becomes self-aware, when it looks back upon itself and goes, oh, hi, I see you. I see me. Is that you, John Wayne? Is that me? Right? The creator and the created become one and the same, self-aware in the self-same moment. So what's the point? Well, there is a point where life started to be not so much fun. Life started to be more about the mechanical nature of the sub processes of base programs that were meant to run in the background so that spirit could explore itself. But when it became more about artificial means of keeping those background programs running simply to distract magnificent humanity, and again trap that potential and feed it back to some undeserving dark energy, that's when it starts to become not fun. That's when the pain sets in. That's what inevitably forestalls the forward progress of the universe. God, I sound so full, don't I? But it's also one of those things when you understand this kind of shit and you have no one else to talk to except your internet friends at, you know, 1 a.m. The mind will tend to wander, right? So how do you do that? Well, you have to engage in the illusion at the level of the illusion and kind of just go, hey, don't you realize all this shit's kind of fake anyway? I mean, it's kind of like if you spent 100 years playing Fortnite and that's all that you did, and then at some point you started to believe that Fortnite was actually real. At some point, somebody would go like, "Hey, you know, this is just a game, right?" No, fuck you. You know, I've built up my character, and you know, she has a nice ass, and I got all these like weapons and like resources. And, yeah, but you realize it's just a game, right? No, fuck you. This is what I'm about. Okay, same kind of thing, except we're not playing Fortnite. We're playing Solitaire 3, and your avatar is a human primate alien weasel thing, you know. And the only difference between what you're doing now and what you ever could is your own decision to do so. You can stop everything that you're doing right the fuck now and do whatever you want, but you don't. You've convinced yourself that what you got to get up and do tomorrow is what's necessary. And I'm not saying like, hey, don't be a parent and blah blah blah. What I'm saying is, you have your life planned out to the week, to the month, to the year, to the date. And what are you doing? You're killing time until you can retire, so that you can be 60 and go and what? Go to Mahi Mahi and drink fucking at the tiki bar, you know. The point is, you're capable of much more as an individuated expression of Source with the full capabilities and powers of Source. You can do anything. And yet you take that amazing potential and you craft a 9 to 5 and you tell yourself it's about work and quote unquote play and looking sexy for the preferred sex, and, you know, 2.5 kids, and taxes. Yeah. Um, and it's not so dire and it's not so desperate. It's just one of those things like I need to convince you of the own crafted mundanity. And I need you guys to understand that uh, the same energy that you put into crafting your 9 to 5, you could put into literally anything else. This life is wide the fuck open. And in a strange way, I mean, I know I bitch about being homeless and about blah, 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 but like in a very visceral way, I was afforded the opportunity to walk away from it all. And what did it cost? Well, most things that people hold valuable in life, you know. I'm not married. I don't have like a cute little wife. Um, I have managed to reproduce. I have a very wonderful daughter who I'm super close with, but uh, this whole like having to take care of yourself and be outdoors and fight off raccoons and squirrels at times, it puts you in touch with the primal elements of life. And it also makes me wonder, because if you're so married to society and politics and the election cycle and, you know, policy and all that kind of stuff, you almost don't appreciate what it's like to live and breathe and struggle. You know, the sort of things that we take for granted now took like 2 or 3 days for our forebears to even manage. You know, securing resources and having enough stored goods to not have to worry about the next couple days. that sort of thing. When what you have to deal with is at the edge of a blade or at the shape of the hand. You know, life is precious and life is fragile, and it's awesome all at the same time. It's like beautiful and horrible and uh, wonderful and great. Well, we're working on an hour. You guys go ahead and submit whatever questions you have. It's probably not going to be a super long stream tonight. You know, past couple weeks have been wild. What can I say? And I suppose that's another element of this whole thing. Like, I want to be about like the awe-inspiring and the heavens and the earth and the, you know, the bridge to the fucking metaphysical. But at times, life gets lifey and mundanity calls. You know, it's like that thing where even God and Moses and Jesus had to wake up and scratch their ass and, you know, pick their belly button, right? Before they put on their high and mighty robes and address the nation. No matter how grand you think you are, everybody wipes their ass, right? Right. All right, you guys. Well, I guess we're about to wind it down. I want to say hello to the chat. I appreciate everybody coming out. I appreciate your support. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Pass out the chat and the channel to any who may benefit from the message. If there is something that you heard tonight that you didn't feel was quite explored enough, drop me a comment once the live stream ends. I will address that on future shows. I appreciate everybody who showed up and asked questions, thoughtful questions. We can't do the show without you. You guys are the lifeblood of the channel. Like I said, I'm working on a couple of different videos, hopefully to explain some of the biological curiosities, which is the human genome. Let's say that. ... Suspense, suspense, suspense. And to that end, I would like to invite you one last time to lift high whatever it is you are imbibing and join me in the savage salute. Here's to us. What's like us? Not a goddamn thing. And in the immortal words of author Stephen Walton, wash your hands, wash your ass, do not kneel, and suffer no fools.